Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, world. Thank you for joining us again in this program, Morning Spring. This is what we do here, and we don't do this alone. Of course, there is no Morning Spring without you, our distinguished viewers. Thank you for joining us. Femi Ojo remains my name. Fear scarcity hasn't affected that. Evelyn, good morning.
Good morning, Femi. How are you doing today? And I should ask that question again. How are you doing? Really?
We are hanging.
You know you can talk to me. You know.
Thank you.
I have a shoulder that you can actually
I've seen the size of the shoulder.
All right. Of course, I had to put that in there because it was not a good time for Manchester United yesterday.
Wow.
As Crystal Palace whooped them 4-0. 4-0.
Then you should have been sending that shoulder leaning offer to Eric Ten Hag.
Yeah,
really.
I don't envy his job at this time. And of course, the Manchester United fans were disappointed yesterday at that result. But then we'll move away from all of that football. This is not Sports Spring. This is Morning Spring right here on Western Spring Television. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei. Thanking you especially for joining us again, doing this with us every morning, every weekday. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Why I reckon this is not Sports Spring, but you have to throw the shade, but it's okay, by the way. But then,
no, I had to sympathize with you.
No, not with me. No serious Manchester United fan will still be expectant of anything. Not when Eric Ten Hag.
So you weren't
you
weren't expectant yesterday.
Who should be, except that person is not.
But you were disappointed when you didn't win.
No, I feel the guy should have left the job last night. You should have been relieved of that job, at least. That's just the thing. By the way, and I'm hearing some Chelsea whispers. What's you was Chelsea? By the way, Arsenal and City are the only one allowed in any conversation right now.
Unfortunately, Liverpool.
Not even Liverpool.
Liverpool had to drop.
At this time. But
why?
They were dropped. They didn't drop. They were dropped.
No, we had to drop.
These are the issues.
Nobody dropped
By the way, we had to come in on a lighter side because, the situation of the country, it requires that we just make ourselves happy. By the way, so that you don't get your BP to this side. The situation about the fare scarcity, seriously noting now, that's not really. Maybe people are having access little by little, but the price is still not the way it's supposed to be. The papers are in, by the way. Let's remind you that you can follow us on social media platforms, on X, on Instagram, on Facebook, and especially on our YouTube, all at Western Spring Television. You just have the address scrolling on your screen. We'll go on this break, and when we come back, the papers are ready. Stay with us.
All right, welcome back. It's the newspaper review segment. And of course, like Femi said earlier, the papers are in. And it is our duty right here to read out what we have on the front pages of this paper to keep us abreast of situation happening in the country. And for this morning, I will start with Delhi Independent newspaper for today. Delhi Independent newspaper. Labour rejects Band A electricity tariff reduction to 206.80 naira per kilowatt and insists on reversal to 66 naira per kilowatt stakeholder engagement. And FG denies plan to establish foreign military bases in Nigeria. Of course, you may have heard that news where the Northern Elders Forum were speaking about Nigeria not give in to allow foreign military bases in the country. But of course, the federal government has debunked that news, saying that there is no plan to establish foreign military bases in the country. And virtual assets, SecBas goes tough on illegal training, and PDP will reclaim Ondo. Makinde Adeleke boast. Southwest PDP leaders move to unite Ondo PDP tendencies. That's on page 29. The only two PDP governors in the Southwest, that's in the persons of Makinde and our very own Osun State governor here, Adeleke, speaking on the forthcoming Ondo elections. Away from that, foreign aircraft forces Shatima to forgo U.S. Africa Summit. That's on page 6. And Edo Speaker suspends 3 lawmakers over alleged impeachment plot. Of course, you know the drama going on in Edo State, and we've learned that the Speaker of the Edo State House of Assembly, Mr. Blessing, suspended 3 lawmakers over alleged impeachment plot. And there is also this issue of whether the Speaker can unilaterally suspend lawmakers without you know, a vote in the House, because that actually created rancor yesterday in the Edo State House of Assembly, where the suspended lawmakers kicked against their suspension. Gunmen killed 6, injure 8 in attack on Kaduna community. Again, we're seeing another sad incident, you know, killings in Kaduna State. And Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, Atiku distorting facts for cheap political gains, says presidency. And says Tinubu has attracted over $20 billion FDI into the economy. And another writer here says his success will finally put paid to Atiku's presidential bid. And one would say $20 billion. Don't just throw around figures. Let's have the details of that. Uzodimma solicits more budgetary provisions for the Army. And top strip, FG commences collection of $300 landing levy from helicopters. Government setting up rotary wing for eventual demise, says expert. And lastly, on Daily Independent newspaper, you will be punished for corruption. CJ and NJI admin 1 new judges. And that will be all from Daily Independent newspaper this morning.
Daily Independent, we move to The Nation newspaper, and it asks, Umahi, Lagos Calabar Road contract followed due process. And with a rider, Atiku got it all wrong on Tinubu's son, says presidency. And Fubara attacks House of Assembly, says he won't worship Wike. Obviously, the dust is yet to settle, and it's not looking like that, you know, as regards what is happening there. The executive led by the governor. By the way, I think he's not even a battle of the executive, it's a battle between the governor and the camp of the former governor of that state and his loyalists, who, you know, eventually they have the majority at the State House of Assembly. Many persons are telling Governor Fubara to tread very, very softly because of banana peels ahead, especially, we said it at different editions of this program, Evelyn, that it doesn't look like the road ahead of Governor Fubara will be stress-free at all. Obviously, it will be rough, and we are seeing what is happening. He has been vetoed. Some of his, you know, projections have been vetoed by the State House of Assembly like a couple of times now. And so it's a power play between Governor Fubara and the legislature. Moving on, workers, consumers reject negligible electricity tariff quote. It's welcome, say reps and Muda Yusu. When I saw it from 255 or thereabout to 206, thank you. And then a chance we say, excuse me. But that's a reduction of almost 50 naira, they're about 49. Yeah. Many persons will say, excuse me, if something will look very significant, at least you must, maybe a reduction of 50% of it will be something that people will feel like, okay, maybe we should try this. But then we're learning that it's a welcome, say reps and Muda Yusuf. All right. And here we have a picture at the center. First Lady Oluremi Tinubu receiving Lieutenant Colonel Chukuma, a new graduate from Royal Military Academy, and he paid a visit, paid a visit to the First Lady. I could see the exchange of salute there. That's one thing that gladdens my heart when I see that salute, especially in this kind of mood, not in the other way around.
I think she's just 24 years.
Yeah, that's instructive. And she has gone that, undergone that part of training, a global one for that matter. She's doing well for herself. And kudos. And so for the people that when they see maybe some young ladies display some frivolities and they generalize everybody, they are virtuous. In fact, not that there are virtuous, there are many, virtuous doing well, virtuous ladies doing well in their career as well. Congratulations to her. And we hope that will be an inspiration to many young girls as well, to know that you can always fly high as you want. Female military school graduate, a worthy example of the youth, obviously. There. Moving on, bottom strip. FIRS converses homegrown tax system in Africa, and Shetima's US trip aborted. Want to know why? Businesses to pay 0.5% cybersecurity levy. Deductions begin May 20. Okay, we hope we'll see the kind of businesses that we're talking about that will be paying these as well. They lured me, harvested my kidney, offered me 1 million naira. But say that news page 6 of the Nation has that. And lastly, Petard, the list 51,000 ghost pensioners after forensic verification. That's all from the front page of the Nation for today.
And we head on to the Guardian newspaper this morning. On the Guardian newspaper, consumers seek lower tariff as NERC adopts monthly review. 1,227 naira to a dollar rate. That's at page 6. And of course, you can have those details and with the statistics on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Under NERC revised tariff order, customers on Band A will pay 206.80 naira per kilowatt at an exchange rate of 1,227 naira to the dollar. And the grid supply, we can see the breakdown since 2021. For 2021, people were made to pay 51 naira per kilowatt. 2022, 68 naira per kilowatt. 2023, still 68 naira per kilowatt. And in 2024, all the way to 206 naira.80 per kilowatt. And you can see the different distribution companies there, beside that particular statistics on the front page of The Guardian. Away from that, USAID names Nigeria 9th highest contributor to plastic pollution. NLC TUC mobilized to shut NERC discos offices nationwide. Seems the organized labor are not having any of the reduction. They want it brought back to 68 naira per kilowatt. We'll see how that pans out. Away from that, concerns over Tinubu's whereabouts as Shetima cancels U.S. trip. And this actually caused a stirred controversy online, where the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar was asking if the country would be left on autopilot because the #1 man is not in the country and the #2 man also is set to leave the country. And we had that clap back from his former boy. I call him boy because
ally, right?
Yeah, his former ally Daniel Bwala saying the president can govern from anywhere. But of course,
not that President Tinubu is not just in the country. And I think somebody asked recently, where is the president? Because since after the summit in Saudi Arabia, nobody can really say this is where he is. And I think it's kind of condescending, if you ask me, that Nigerians that voted their president in their numbers, he promised to do right by them, uphold the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Nigerians are the employers of the president, for God's sake. And if you are asking for your employees, in this case, not really that, a direct employee, but he's serving, at the pleasure of Nigerians constitutionally, I think it's not a bad thing for you to say, where is my president? And whenever you hear these, what are you looking for him? Is there a vacuum? What's your business with him? He can govern from anywhere in the world. I'm not sure even Donald Trump will look at Americans or his handlers, will tell them and say, why are you asking for him? Because he answers to them. The meeting is over. Where is he? It's as simple as that. But then, they don't rate Nigeria, I'm sure. They don't.
And we can never tell, the president might just be going around looking for FDI. They've always called him the #1 marketer of the country.
And then he should say.
But then we hope that he will respond, the presidency will respond to all this, issues. But then the vice president has cancelled his trip to US, faulty aircraft, we heard. FG cut electricity sales to neighbors for local supply. And of course, on the internet the other day, I was hearing someone saying in Ghana now, the power supply is terrible. The situation in Ghana now.
It used to be stable.
That it's
Nigerians used to envy them.
That it's now like the power outage. It's more like the way Nigeria, enjoys it, in quote. So probably the Minister of Power is trying to focus on Nigeria. Saying that the federal government has cut electricity sales to neighbors for local supply. Terrorists kill 7, abduct woman, rustle animals in Katsina, Kaduna. Institute bemoans shortage of radiographers nationwide. And Rivers Assembly threatens Fubara over illegal contract awards. Over $50 billion may be trapped in crypto exchange as after begins clamped down. That will be all from the Guardian newspaper this morning.
All right, still on the headline and away from the Guardian, let's look at what the Vanguard, as far as the Vanguard newspaper, and it has quite a busy page, and it has this petrol scarcity. Why pump price is high in our stations. That's coming from IPMAN, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria. Petrol scarcity, why pump price is high in our stations, with riders. Price gap between major marketers and independents widens. Major marketers in B2B transactions, all right, and then many persons will say how many of those major marketers have product. That is it. And so most of those stations still selling are still 8-man stations. But then they have given their reasons, and I want to pick up a copy of the Vanguard for that. Edo 2024 PDP APC governorship aspirant resigned from parties. You want to know who are they? AP candidate, party chieftain, Bika over funds. Many Nigerians will say we are used to this, we know this game. Okay, but then if it reflects in the choice of who succeeds Governor Obaseki is another thing, to the betterment of the people of Edo State and deepening of our democracy. Moving on, 1.3 trillion naira debt cuts Genco's capacity to 35%. This is one problem, because when generation is affected, you can't even be talking about distribution. So we must pay attention to these. We are learning that 1.3, there is 1.3 trillion naira debt somewhere. Guber poll, PDP will reclaim Ondo. That is coming from Governor Makinde and Governor Adeleke, both governors of the PDP in the Southwest, just like Evelyn said earlier. And on the sporting scene, World Relays in Nassau, Bahamas. In Nassau and Bahamas, Nigerian relay teams book Olympic tickets. Hooray! This is one cheering it. Okay, Nigerian relay teams book Olympic tickets, and you can see them holding that inscription, qualified. the teams, okay, maybe 100 and 400. By the way, I think those are the relay races at the Olympics, and that's one thing that many persons look forward. So the 100-meter sprint, and of course, the relay races. Congratulations to them. Something to really cheer. We wish them all the best in Paris later in the year. Still on the front page of the Vanguard, rather. Electricity, federal government slashes band A tariff by 8% to 206.8 naira per kilowatt. Claims of foreign military base in Nigeria falls. I think Evelyn, that news since it broke like 2 days ago, and Nigerians has been, claiming and, making known their opinion about that. By the way, is it to be or not to be? And sometimes, especially if antecedent is anything to go by in Nigeria, whenever something comes up and then people are trying to share your opinions on it, and the handlers of the federal government comes out to say, don't worry, there is no issue. Many Nigerians will say, we will soon hear. Because whenever they come out to shut down, there is always something around that part. And it's
that speaks to the distrust between the people and the government.
And you know, most of those things, you get to know that there is a conversation about it. Should we have a foreign military base in Nigeria? Let me ask you.
Why should we?
Okay.
Do we have a
reason?
Do we have a reason for that? Okay. And of course, we'd like to know what countries their military bases are coming to Nigeria. I don't think that it's necessary.
We've learned of the U.S. Many persons are saying the U.S. comes to a place, we have stability, they can intercept threats. For many persons, we say most of those countries that they have gone to for this kind of mission, how it turns out. All right. And technical fault in aircraft aboard Shatima Strip, the U.S.-Africa Summit. And it's good to know, by the way, that it's better late than to be late. If you understand what I'm saying. Thank God that it was found out that the aircraft is faulty, by the way, and that is the reason why the vice president have not really traveled. And it's way better than for us to be having touching stories. And lastly, Atiku becoming fond of distorting facts to discredit Tinubu. That's coming from the presidency. Mr. and Mrs. there, but we get to take that tomorrow because of time. We take a break right now. When we come back, we switch our gears to what is happening at the Sunshine State, Ondo State, where the APC, the PDP, many of those parties have held their primaries, but then it seems all is not too well with what we are hearing, especially when it has to doing things rightly. We speak to somebody in the know who will make explanation for some of these concerns. It's the Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. You stay with us. We'll be back. Right, you're welcome back, and the conversation starts right now. And of course, the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, that's the conventional definition of democracy. And it has to do with making choices, wielding influences, running for elections, and then having elected leaders govern the people. But that, before it gets to that point of governance, there has to be the power conversation, having to wield influence, as I said in just about now rather, and then is a situation in which people go about, make their intentions known, try to galvanize support, and then they come to the field, to go for the race of who will represent their party, the party being the vehicle, being the platform, and that's what gives birth to having primary. Primary is like an election before the election, the choice of who will carry the flag of such a party. And that is what every party does whenever the general elections or Guber elections or, elections are coming up to occupy different capacity. That exactly is what the APC in Ondo State did a few weeks ago. Governor Loki Ayedatiwa was a deputy governor. 2 is late boss KT, that's a popular name for late Arakunri Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, who has, passed on. And then, circumstances and the law has thrown him up to succeed his governor, his principal rather, and he's in charge right now, and he vied for office, and he's going to be running, by the way. The APC primary has been done, and it has produced Governor Loki Ayedatiwa under the platform of the All Progressives Congress. But it seems, in the election that will be held later in the year, but it seems the dust is yet to settle as we hear. By the way, after that particular election, there are challenges, there are persons with concerns, there are placards, a couple of protests to say the process wasn't smooth enough, and then that many persons are aggrieved. But away from that, we are hearing, and it was reported widely in the newspapers yesterday, it seems that INEC, that is the umpire that coordinates elections in Nigeria, statutorily, they have that power constitutionally as well. It seems the INEC have not endorsed. We are hearing that the name of Loki Ayedatiwa, that's the incumbent governor of Ondo State, has not been ratified by INEC. And then many persons are wondering what is going on at this time. The elections are just a few months away. And then this morning, we'll be speaking to somebody that should be in the know. That is Director of Media and Publicity for the All Progressives Congress in Ondo State. And he's no more a stranger on the show, Mr. Steve Otaloro. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. He joins us from the state capital in Akure. Quickly, let's get into it. Mr. Otaloro, what is, and I'm going to state it the way the newspapers have reported it as well, and that's why we have you to provide the clarifications. The APC Guber Primary have come and gone, and then it has produced Governor Loki Ayedatiwa, who wants to, return to that particular seat if the people will vote him. But we learned, that INEC is here to ratify the name of your candidate, that is Governor Loki Ayedatiwa. What is going on? What is that situation? What is this? Okay, can you hear me now?
Not so well.
Okay, I will try and take that question again. We're learning, and it is widely reported in the papers, that INEC is yet to ratify, to endorse the name of Mr. Loki Ayedatiwa, the governor of Ondo State, come the next election cycle. What is going on?
Well, INEC could be in a better position to tell us what is going on. Because all we know is that we had an election. It was conducted around 2 or 3 wards in Ondo State, and a winner emerged in the person of the sitting governor, Governor Loki Ayedatiwa. So for INEC to have said that, if that is true, they need to expatiate more on that, why they felt that election won't count. Because everybody was in Ondo State then. A lot of media houses were here, even though we cannot deny the fact that we have some skirmishes here and there. If the election is not 100% perfect, but by and large, the election counts, and that is the important thing. So finally, to have come up with that position, they need to tell us more. They didn't just say that election will not count without explaining. And as I speak, they've not done that. No letter was been written to us, even though we forwarded the name of Mr. Governor to them as our candidate in the November election. They didn't tell us he will not be contesting. So it's something that is coming as a surprise to most of our members in Ondo State, and of course at the national level. So we still want to know more from INEC, hear more from them, know why that decision. I still don't believe it's a white paper. I read through it. It wasn't they weren't categorical to say that Ayedatiwa is not a candidate. But if you look at the report itself, it's more or less a speculation. It wasn't the position of INEC. But whatever it is, we believe they must have heard if they are taking that decision. They are taking that position on the election that took place Ondo State APC Primary.
All right. Mr. Otaloro, the Daily Independent, just like I said, it was already reported in many of the papers, but this is the way Daily Independent put it, to say the All Progressives Congress, APC in Ondo State, may not participate in the November 16, 2024 Guber election in the state, as INEC electoral officers declared that the party didn't conduct governorship primary election on April 28, 2024 in the state. And reports submitted by INEC electoral officers who monitored the APC governorship election across the 18 local government areas of the state revealed that there were no elections in the designated registration areas. And they gave an example. According to some reports in circulation and submitted by individual electoral officers, which were received by one Dimas F. Emmanuel, ACLO INEC headquarters, dated April 30, 2024, the electoral officers revealed that there were no election materials made available at the polling stations. Now, maybe this might be one of the reasons that the report is saying that INEC might not have ratified it. I remember the last time we had you, that was after that primary, you concurred that yes, there were skirmishes. Now, are these skirmishes enough to invalidate the candidature of Mr. Lucky Aiyedatiwa, in your own opinion?
Well, the Daily Independent you quoted copiously actually equally interviewed me.
All right.
To balance his story. Why they even put my parts in that story is what surprises me. You see, by the time he get hold of that information, he was not even sure. That is Bolu Esho, if you look at the name. He was not even sure. He was asking me. And I stated the position of the party. You see, skirmishes is not enough to invalidate an election. No election is perfect. We are a third world country, for God's sake. You see, we'll get there. But for now, you see, substantially, that election was free and fair. It was credible. For anybody to say they wants to discredit that election, it will be difficult, to tell people the reason behind it. INEC were there in all the 2 or 3 wards. Yes, we know. In some local government, an entire local government like a federal was cancelled. And we all know the reasons. They said they could not go in, even though most of the electorate were waiting for them. They said they could not go in because of certain issues. They had to go back. Okay, that is just one local government out of 18. So are you not saying the election didn't take place in the 17 local governments? That can be true. You see, this will not just end with a statement from INEC, whichever sources that is coming up. We are going to get into the bottom of it. And we are going to do everything possible to make sure INEC can list a candidate in that election. I don't want to jump into conclusion because our opponents were already celebrating this when we had that election. That is it the best we could do? Immediately we had that election, they issued a press statement condemning the election in all its entirety, and even asking INEC to cancel it. So if it is the handwriting we saw earlier that is playing out, we are going to get there. Because this is our own family affair. It's our primary. Even though INEC has the reason to be there to ensure fairness. That's just an empire. We could as well decide to go for another option to say we have a consensus candidate. What will INEC do? Nothing. We could as well decide to go for delegates. INEC is just to observe. They are not to take positions on issues like this. They are just an umpire. Who have no say. For them to say we don't have an election, I think they are going beyond their powers.
All right.
It is for us to decide who won this election. And it is for all the candidates, for the party to ensure fairness, which we've done. And it's for whoever is feeling aggrieved to equally proceed to the appeal committee, which they've done. And the appeal committee come up with a position on that the election, they cannot substantiate all the allegations they put forward. So what is next? It is if some of them were even threatening to go to court. Yes, it is still under the law. They could do that. But not for an empire like INEC, who has no say to now say that election is not credible, won't count. It's impossible. You know, we foresaw such thing when PDP came up with the position, and for them to now validate that position of cancellation or whatever, I think there's been more to it than met the eye. But we'll get to the bottom of it. That's, I can assure you.
All right. You know, very quickly, there are some reports. You mentioned Ifedore, by the way, and then there are skirmishes in Ilaje local government as well, and the Okitipupa axis, where there were violence apart from just non-availability of voting materials in some centers. We learned INEC were there, delegates were there. You know, I just said some of these because you mentioned the Fedore, Okitipupa, Ilaje, and the rest of them, and many persons will say maybe these are signs that yes, election might have happened in some other part, a substantial part of Ondo State, but how about these concerns? You mentioned the Fedora, I mentioned Okitipupa. I mean, yes, the larger local government area as well. Many persons are saying, is this not a sign that maybe all is not well?
No, this is not a sign that all is not well. It's just because of the option we use. That is a direct primary. It's just like when INEC conduct their own primaries, their own elections. There are skirmishes here and there, but that doesn't invalidate the entirety of the election. With no election INEC have conducted in this country that has been perfect. None, not single one you can mention. They didn't cancel it. If there's reason to cancel election to have it run, they will have done that. The party will have done that. The skirmishes I mentioned is just some pocket of problem here and there. That was resolved eventually. Why that of Fedore? Why the electoral officer in charge of Fedore decided to go back? He has his reasons. He said he has some not too pleasant reasons not to go in. It's not as if the electorates are not waiting for him. They were waiting for him. But because he's not from this part of the world, he's afraid and decided to go back. What happened at Fedore equally happened at Ilaje. The election took place, happened at the election took place. You see, that I mentioned skirmishes doesn't mean that it disrupted the whole entire process. No, it didn't. You know, skirmishes in terms of it didn't start earlier, materials didn't arrive earlier. There are some violence, in pockets of violence around that area, but eventually it got resolved. That it didn't start earlier. It was extended, supposed to end by 2, but extended to 5 p.m. That people, pockets of problem here and there, people equally resolve those issues regarding validation of the register. They want to be sure that the register they brought is the one that actually, you know, because before then there rumored that some people actually included some names that are not in their local government. So when they pasted it, they all resolved, they voted. You see, because the media was so much on this election, you know, that of APC. When PDP conducted their own, so a few days after, nobody even knew if there was an election. So because the level of popularity of the APC and the fact that we are the party at the saddle, is to actually put searchlight on us. And people wanted to report what they want to report. You know, it wasn't as if PDP's election was 100% perfect. The runner-up didn't congratulate the man immediately. It was after some discussions and meetings before he congratulated him. And some of our aspirants have congratulated Mr. Governor too. You should respect that thing. Politicians don't cave in easily, even when it was glaring that they lost. There will always be problems. You know, there will be room for negotiations, you know, Australia and stuff like that. Because all of them have spent a lot of resources on this election. And they want to recoup it in a way, you know. So they would rather want to talk with the winner before they could move forward. This is what we are battling with right now in Ondo State. But because the media have escalated the whole thing to look as if we are in crisis. We are not in crisis, for God's sake. And INEC is now bringing this to fore. A false news. So INEC need to quickly substantiate all their claims. Before it gets out of hand. They are not helping us.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Otaloro, you call it false news. The report INEC is given about your primary, and you termed what happened as skirmishes, but INEC calls it irregularities. Don't you think you referring to the report by INEC as false news is going too far, because these were people you invited to observe your primary. And without them in the primary, they also play a major role, a major part in your primary. So you now going ahead to call their report a false report. I'd like you to, talk more on that. Is there something you're saying, you're not saying that you should say at this time?
How will you say an election conducted by sitting governor of Kogi State, with the former deputy Senate president and secretary, and other distinguished Nigerians, how will you call it there was no election? The first thing that comes to mind is this is not true. Is that it was a concussion of the media or whoever is bringing out that news from INEC? The first thing that comes to mind is that this is not true. And that was exactly what I said, it's a false news. So we're still on top of it. I still don't want to believe it's coming from INEC, because you look at the report itself. It wasn't as if they issue a statement towards that. It wasn't as if they actually addressed a press conference. But someone just scoped the news somewhere and it started from online reports. And before you know, the mainstream media started crying. So as far as we are concerned, in Ondo State APC, it's still a false news until INEC come with more clarification. Until they come up with more clarification before we can accept that news. Because false in the sense that PDP have earlier asked for cancellation of that election. And if somebody is still pulling the strings along that line, that this election will not stand, we will just believe the shenanigans started with PDP. And whoever is buying into it needs to explain more.
Are you accusing the opposition of being behind this development?
Immediately we completed that election. They didn't even wait until results started coming up. They thought the result would come up by 2 o'clock, but some areas were postponed till 5 a.m. Even they have to do a new entire local government the following day. But PDP has issued a statement. So you see what I'm talking about. They've issued a statement condemning that election. That this is what we could do, and even asking for cancellation. So that's why we are pointing a fishing finger to them, at PDP, that if they are the one behind this, they won't.
Mr. Otaloro, are you still with us? We'll definitely try to reconnect back to Mr. Otaloro, speaking on the recent development on the, result of the APC primary that took place in Ondo State. And he is bent on, still saying that that particular report was probably sponsored, trying to point accusing fingers at the opposition People's Democratic Party, and also calling the report from the Independent National Electoral Commission, the umpire, as a false report. And one would say this is the commission saddled with the responsibility of conducting the main election in Ondo State. So if you do not believe, in the capacity of that commission, then how do you go to the games? I like to call it games. How do you go to the field? Trusting the results that will come out. I mean, these are the issues, but definitely we'll try to reconnect with Mr. Otaloro too. We still have more questions to ask him at this time.
Yes, we do.
Yes. Okay.
And it's only expedient that we ask these questions as well. It's only expedient that we ask this question because the process must be smooth ab initio before we got into it as well. Mr. Otaloro, can you hear us?
I'm hearing you.
All right. You are going to land on your thought.
I'd like to finish your thought.
No, I don't even know where I stopped. I didn't know.
I think my
we're going to
colleague
get to the bottom of it all. Because we believe there's a fifth column in this issue. It could be PDP, it could be anybody. It could be PDP working with some people in INEC to say this election was not perfect. Because when we talk of INEC, it's not as if INEC came up with any these are middle-level officers they sent to all these local governments. I'm not undermining them in any way, but they're to compromise. All these people could easily compromise. When we focus on our election, some people will focus on sabotaging such elections. And when you send a middle class officers to come up with a report, you can expect what they will come up with. This time we mention INEC, we look as if it's the senior officers in INEC or more than 3-4 people, just one in each local government. And you want to rely on such persons to
but
give
these
a report
persons are representatives of the commission.
Come again?
These persons you called mid-level officers and also referring to them as just being one in each local government.
And
They are representatives of INEC.
They could easily compromise.
They are the...
When you have people work...
Mr. Otaloro, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
You do understand that this is a grave allegation or accusation against the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, the umpire, saddled with the responsibility of conducting the main election in Ondo State in some months' time.
What INEC did is not even a grave one on a party like PDP, like APC, that is at the shadow in Ondo State. So when you look at it, you said it's an alibi. We can call it. I just told you the truth. The truth is always bitter. An election that was conducted in 203 wards across the states. Somebody came up with a report. They said different reports. That was what they said. They said different reports from INEC officers. But that's why I said you need to look at these INEC officers. They have the capability. Are they equipped enough? It's not as if 5 of them are manning each local government. Just one person in each local government. And I'm sure some of the officers were not even there because they didn't identify themselves. When I voted, for instance, there was no INEC officer that was identified. Nobody. We didn't see him. All the officers conducting elections were identified themselves. I voted in Irani Duane. No INEC officer was identified himself. Even though if she's around or not, we don't know. But it's possible it could be around. But such person will have come up to identify him or herself so that we know INEC is monitoring this election.
So, Mr. Otaloro, if at this time you cannot trust the judgment of INEC or, their
absolutely,
reports,
absolutely. Not on this.
How will you be able to
PDP...
trust their judgment for the main election? How are you confident that INEC will do their job for the main election? If at this point you are, skeptical about their capacity to actually be fair.
Their main election, there will be representative of our party. Everybody will be there. It's clearing. They've upgraded their voting system, so we can trust that. We can trust that. We can trust their judgment because at every processes of that election, we have our representative there.
So for now, you don't trust their judgment.
But they can't trust our own. They can't trust our own election. It's how we conducted it. It's our party that conducted it. They can't trust our own election. Why? That's the question. Why wouldn't they trust our own election? If the report is true, because we still believe this is one of the shenanigans of the opposition. They're trying to malign us just to make us sure we didn't contest this election. But let me still give them benefit of that.
Yeah,
but
Mr.
they need to come up quick and tell us more about this report.
Yeah, it's statutory that INEC representatives are present whenever primaries are being done, and their duty is to observe. It's the duty of the party to conduct their own affairs themselves. It's the duty of the party to hold their primary. The INEC doesn't play any part than to observe in that part, and maybe it's in their report that they have made, known what they have observed in that party. But let me ask you, you have talked about, maybe allegations of connivance with INEC. You have pointed at the direction of the PDP. Maybe they are the center of these. But we have not looked inwards. How about your own party? Maybe there are fifth columnists there. Maybe there are people that are not too comfortable with what has happened. And obviously, there are disgruntled interests, especially after the aftermath of that primary. You have blamed others. You have not looked inward. You have not talked about disgruntled elements in your party.
You see, there is none of the aspirants. None, all of them.
Mr. Otaloro, are you still with us? Can you hear us? All right, we'll try and reconnect. You know, with that, technology can't be a handful at times. That is what we are dealing with at this time now. But for us to have a smooth conversation, and most importantly, is about having clarification on these things. That's why we do this, to speak to angles on this matter. But we'll try and take this break right now. When we come back, the conversation will continue about these developments that we are seeing and from Ondo State, the Sunshine State. It's the Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Please stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us, and we're having a conversation about the aftermath of the Ondo APC Gubernatorial Primaries, and we'll be talking with the Director of Media and Publicity of the All Progressives Congress in Ondo State, Mr. Steve Otaloro. Thank you for staying with us, and you know, you are going to land on your thoughts, and the question I asked was, how come you have been blaming, you know, outsiders? You have not really looked into your party. Maybe there are disgruntled elements who will want to throw anything, even the party, under the bus.
No, we have to do that, because you see, if you look at the caliber of all the aspirants, they're all stakeholders in APC in Ondo State. They know it will be better off for APC to retain the state than for opposition to do. You know, we all lose if we didn't retain the state. Everybody's aware of it. We have a sitting senator. We have the House of Representative member among the aspirants. Are you saying these people will allow an opposition to take over the state? We have members of the National Population Commission. We have so many of them. So they would rather want to have agreed for the governor to continue in office, believing that their own time, the opportunity will come. So, and in as much as we've been talking to them, and we know what they are saying, you know, we are just trying to dot the I and cross the T properly before everybody comes on board. I won't tell you the level of discussion, how amicable it is for now, you know, in order not to jeopardize the discussion. It's still an ongoing meeting. But very pretty soon we'll get to a conclusion. So we don't have reasons to look inward that this problem might be coming from our members. No, you know, it's not coming from. It's probably coming from the opposition. That's why I said the PDP issued a statement almost immediately before we concluded that election that should be cancelled. That we should look into. And if INEC is coming to a position of cancellation like PDP have suggested, are you saying we're not going to suspect something is happening? That's what we said. As far as we know, this election was conducted properly, and we submitted the name of our governor, you know, our candidate to INEC. If anything has gone wrong, they're supposed to tell us, not telling the press or leaking that information to the press. Because it wasn't a press conference they had, or they issued a communique to that effect. So we are still surprised such statement is coming to the press.
Mr. Otaloro, what would say, why express these kind of concern to, you know, repeatedly point accusing finger at the opposition, knowing fully well that your party is in the saddle in Ondo State, you know, your party is at the center. So why do you think an opposition party that is not holding aids or holding power will be strong enough to be the one to, you know, be the one to put fire on some kind of news like this? Maybe this is just an expression of panic.
No, not in any way. Why would we panic? A PDP that has been decimated, their members continue to come to our political party. There are few people left, just few people. And the man that they gave the ticket to just walk away from our party, not too long, and just walk in and take the tickets. Just to tell you, there are no people there. There are no politicians of note that are worthy of taking that ticket. That's why the man just stroll in and pick the ticket. We strongly believe that the only way, they know that the only way they can win this election is when APC will not be contested. So they could go to any length to do whatever they want to do to ensure that APC didn't contest that election. And that's the only leeway to win it. They know that. So if you have one option, are you not going to exploit it to the letter? That's what they're probably doing. But I believe when they have their own election, instead of us castigating them, we never make any statement. Rather, we even congratulated them. That's what we did as a political party, and tell them we're going to meet in November, and we are sure we are getting victory. But immediately we had our own election, they issued a statement condemning that election. Even when they are just sitting in Akure, they were nowhere across all the 18 local governments or 2 or 3 wards, because they only had their own election, indirect election in Akure, and they were preparing for that. Immediately they issued that statement to say our election should be cancelled. So are you saying you are not going to look at that direction? That's what we're thinking. Maybe it has something to do with them.
All right, Mr. Otaloro, you don't think that they are just playing opposition? I mean, they are opposition, they are just playing opposition, and like you have...
That's not the responsible opposition. That's not the way to play opposition. Are we not equally playing government in power? When they had their primary, we congratulated them, and asked them that we are going to meet in November. You have to play responsible opposition, not that way. It's only when you have a plan in place, that's when you jump the gun. That's exactly what they did. We had our election, we have not completed it because some of the local government was postponed to 5 p.m. instead of 2 p.m. They've issued that statement around 3. That an opposition. And by the way, what's their concern with our primary? We've not even come up with a position. Nobody has come up with a position. INEC has not come up with a position. Our party has not come up with a winner yet. They are issuing a statement to cancel. That's irresponsible opposition. That is an opposition that has a plan. They are working through. That's what happened.
All right, so let's talk about the man who actually clinched the ticket for the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Gwolaja. He was formerly a member of your party before he moved over to ZLP and moved to PDP. Now he is going to be contesting against the incumbent governor, Lucky Aiyedatiwa. I'd like you to speak on his political might and weight. Are you threatened that former deputy governor, who actually worked with someone like Aketi, late Arakunrin Akeredolu, is now contesting? And this has actually been his ambition, and now he has it to contest, for the #1 seat in Ondo State. Is APC threatened in the state?
Knowing fully well, he came from the same system.
Exactly, with the candidature of Mr. Gwolaja.
Well, as a person, I respect him so much. As an individual, but not his brand of politics. He left us, APC. He was so ambitious to want to take over the reign of power from his principal. When he now realized he can't realize that ambition, he left for PDP. He contested under PDP. He lost. He quickly left for Zenith Labour. He lost that election. He went back to PDP. So, and in those states are aware of his antecedents politically. Because an individual is a fantastic man, very easygoing person, quiet man, a loving person. You can't afford not to like him. But when you play politics in that way, people will trust you. People won't trust you. Nobody will trust you with their votes. And you are going to a platform that has been decimated already. Nobody remains in that platform. He's probably the only heavyweight left there. That was why he just left Z Labour and pick up the ticket easily. Are you saying when PDP was still PDP, it would be that easy for anyone to just walk in and pick that kind of ticket? You can't. But the entire PDP structure is with us now. Mention them, all of them, all their heavy political heavyweights, all with us. If we get our house in order, this election is a straight shoot. We are winning it. And he knows himself that he has no chance to contest with Dr. Aiyedatiwa, a governor who is doing fantastically well present.
That's a former governor you are talking about. I mean, former deputy governor you are referring to.
No, yes, Agbola Ajayi I'm referring to. I just laid down his antecedents. Some of the way he played politics is not what a lot of people like. When you are a deputy governor, you are so ambitious to take over the reign over your man, the man that elected you, that appointed you into his own ticket, that nominated for a joint ticket. What kind of ambition is that? Even when that man has a reason to a right of refusal for a second chance, you said no. You wanted to contest against it. That's Ondo later Katie. But when he can't realize it, he left. He went to PDP. He contested PDP primary. He lost. He ran to Zenith Labour to contest the general election. He just picked the ticket there. There's nobody contesting against him. He lost in that election to Aketi. Now PDP wants to have their own primary. He quickly ran away from the PDP, from the Zenith Labour to PDP. And you think that man, that kind of person, can win general election? The only way he can win is we APC is not on ballot by default.
So you are not threatened at all?
They are not what?
You are not threatened at all by an Agwalaja.
That was why that was why you can ask any journalist around here. They will tell you PDP is almost non-existent. They are not anywhere any longer. It's only APC that has dominated the political terrain of Ondo State presently. And we are going to hold on to that for a very long time to come. With due respect to the electorate, in as much as we continue to do their bidding, they'll continue to return us power. They are not in contestants. No, it's not. This is a foregone election. If you are to meet in November, he knows that. But you can't rule out their the gimmicks that could do a lot of things to prevent us from contesting that election. I'm not ruling that out. We are only focused on the election. They are focused on some plans to make sure they didn't contest that election as the only leeway for them to win that election. But we hope our own game as well now. That was why I'm saying the INEC need to come up with a position as on that a white paper, address a press conference or write to us, giving their own reasons so that we can equally tender our own reasons. So that we need to go to court, we have to. That is the need. INEC doesn't have such power to just cancel a primary that was not conducted by them. They don't have that power. We need to get to the bottom of it. If an election conducted by a political party, going through all the processes, and you are saying the day of election is what you are aiming at, how many elections has been contested, and you will go to a tribunal and you win? They will tell you to substantially you cannot prove it. If they are talking about processes that will lack some process, the processes was not okay, then we can agree that INEC have done their job. But the election that was conducted in 2 or 3 wards, that you are just an observant, you are not putting a seal on it that it should be counted, it's not accepted. They need to tell us where they derive that power from the Constitution, the electoral law. We have to look at it. That's why I said it's early, the earlier the better. Because we are preparing to start a rally, whatever, start us trading, start meeting the people. So they should please do us a favor and do themselves a favor by coming up with a white paper on this. And the reasons why this election, they feel, was not well conducted. Which of the processes they are talking about that we lacked, that we didn't put in place to come up. It's incumbent on INEC. You should be able, please go to INEC. You don't need to interview us as a political party. You need to get more from INEC. Do your job. Please do that.
Mr. Otaloro, since this...
will help you with the number of the PR of that of Ondo State.
Mr. Otaloro, part of doing our job is having this conversation with you, and trust us to always consider every angle in this kind of conversation, because that's what we do here. Let me ask you quickly before I ask my other question. Have you tried, since this news broke and it's coming in beats, have you tried to seek clarification from INEC to know their position, or is their duty to come out with a position?
Why do you do that?
You as a party.
You see, it's like jumping the gun. Something that wasn't, there's no clarity in that statement. The reporter I told you the reporter, Bonu Oluesho, interviewed me.
That's why I'm asking if the APC will be seeking clarification.
He said he had that. So.
Because it's not only the Daily Independent that has that news. Almost all the dailies has it.
Okay, it was they work together. If he had interviewed me, because we'll pass it round. Okay. All the correspondents work together. If you get the news, you pass it round. They're all colleagues. They're there.
Right.
But he was the one that called me, and I'm sure he's doing that on behalf of others. He he said he had so I threw his list. And I told him our own position, but he didn't even include it in that report. So, but I know at the end of it, just put that report.
All right.
It's going to be tracked.
Yeah, Mr. Otaloro, the issue of primary is one that will never, and I'm sure you know, should never be trivialized, because many parties who have had shaky primaries, who have gone on to do well at the proper elections, some of them have had their the mandate taken off them because of, you know, shaky primaries and the rest of that. And that's why many persons are showing concern that even though you have a very strong front, don't you think you should look at the process and make sure everything is taken into consideration? But away from that, the leaders...
No, I need to address that. No election has been cancelled before. No election has been cancelled before. No primary has been cancelled based on the voting day. None. You can say the process. You can say something about the candidate not fit enough to hold the office. You can have some issues about candidates. But the election itself, no, that's never happened. INEC has never disqualified any election based on voting, based on the conduct on that day. They've never done that.
All right, Mr. Otaloro,
for the first time.
I must quickly butt in here. I'm not talking about INEC, cancelling election. I'm talking about when aggrieved parties, some characters go to court. The situation, we have more than two. It happened in Zamfara State, that election was declared not properly done, and all the candidates lost their mandate. It has happened before. That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about INEC, but I'm talking about if some elements take it up because of the conduct of primaries. But away from that, let's talk about the election.
Let me answer that.
Yes, please.
You see, yes, I agree with you. Some election has been cancelled. Of
course.
Those elections were indirect elections. All right. Conducted in a particular center. Maybe they are having more than one center now. These are the things we are trying to avoid. Okay. They will say they want to conduct it in the state capital. Others will conduct their own in different areas, like they happened in Benin, in those states the last time. Until they have the second runoff. Yeah. So, but when you have an election conducted across 2 or 3 wards, it will be pretty difficult for anybody to cancel that election. Okay. It's pretty difficult.
All right, Mr. Otaloro. The leaders of the PDP, that's the main opposition party, in which you have tagged non-existent, and the election is a foregone conclusion, you said, with apologies to the electorate, because they are the ones who will make the decision for your party. You're saying as much you are doing their biddings. So you are home and dry as far as the APC is concerned. Those are your words. But those leaders met yesterday in Ibadan. The governor of Osun State was there. The governor of Oyo State was there, who is the leader of the party in the southwest. And this is what he said. He said the PDP leaders and stakeholders from across the 6 southwest states were behind Mr. Ajayi. He expressed optimism that the party candidate will reclaim Ondo State from the APC. And let me quote what Governor Makinde said. He said, with our leaders from across the southwest standing behind our candidate in Ondo State, I think it's a strong signal to the present occupier of the Ondo State Government House that PDP is coming and it will happen. Our candidate, Mr. Ajayi, is here, and the first step forward for us is to reconcile all the tendencies in Ondo State. This is because once we have unified PDP in Ondo State, we have a path to the Alagbaka Government House in Akure. Mr. Otaloro, Governor Seyi Makinde is saying the PDP in the Southwest are behind Ajayi, and he said it will happen. This is the party you are saying they are non-existent in the state.
You see, you are a journalist.
Yes.
Don't always go by the words of politicians.
I know. We report what we hear and what we see.
These are just statements to solidarize with the winner.
From a sitting governor?
It's like, yes, of course. The state governor you are talking about. Before the demise of Arakoni Oloritima was one of those that visited it. Not only that, we've had a series of issues that we have synergies together. I might not go deeply into that. But you see, when a man is visiting you, or you think you are your candidate in a political party is talking, and you now have a candidate, it is natural that you say things that he wants to hear. It is natural you say things that the people will get familiar with. But beneath that, there are much more that is happening. There are much more that is happening. You see, somebody that is drowning, you want to give him hope that all is not lost. You know. But the truth is, why did he want to get their hearts together in Ondo State? Why are they talking in terms of putting their hearts together in Ondo State, getting things together in Ondo State? What are they going to get together?
You said the same of your contestants as well. You said you are going to unify.
No, all the not just the few contestants, you know, but the entire structure of APC has collapsed in Ondo State. We're talking of entire structure. We're only talking about 15 people, 15 men and women who contested with Mr. Governor. We are going to reconcile them. And ever since they've been talking, have you seen anyone who said he wants to leave the party? Have you even heard from anyone who is saying they're sending derogatory statement to the leadership of the party or condemning the actions of the party in its entirety? They all kept quiet. They all kept quiet.
But their full soldiers are doing that.
We are going to resolve this issue.
Their full soldiers are doing that.
Their full...
The full soldiers of those contestants are doing that.
Even the one that said they are going to court. You see, when you are going to court, you start saying all sorts of dirty things about the conduct. None. Nobody, none of the 15 did say anything. None. Just to tell you, you see, every loser wants to win in politics. There is no complete loser. That is the process we are going through. That's where we are right now. Because they've really put in a lot of resources into that election, primary. And they don't want to lose that completely.
All right.
They don't want to lose that. That's the reason they kept quiet. They believed the presidency will wade into it. You know, the party has been wading into it. The presidency will come in. And at the end of the day, everybody will be in a win-win situation. Unlike a party structure that has been completely collapsed. What are they trying to put together? There's no PDP. Mention one big name in PDP in Ondo State. I will tell you they are with us already. That's the truth.
Okay, so Mr. Otaloro, you've constantly referred to the primaries as, you know, the APC primary as a family affair. And I'd like to ask about the unity of your family, the APC, beyond the contestants or the aspirants for the primaries. You know, a few months ago, we heard, you know, reports that the governor of Ondo State, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, was sidelining loyalists of the late Governor Rotimi Akeredolu. So I'd like to ask, you know, the loyalists of the late Governor Akeredolu, are they with Aiyedatiwa now? Is there, you know, synergy between the Aiyedatiwa's camp and the Akeredolu's camp?
Well, as a political party, we don't always want to talk about camps. We see everybody as in the same camp. But if you are talking of, you know, that people who have actually supported, nominated by the former governor positions, they've all been returned. Most of the commissioners, 70% of them are the nominee of former governor when they were former commissioners. We returned them to office. I want to believe these are just minor issues that will be taken care of. Everybody cannot be on board with you. You see, there are some deep loyalists of former governor that resigned almost immediately when he died. Just to tell you their level of loyalty to him. They felt they can't work with the deputy governor because he's the one that brought them into politics. They brought them to power. So the only way they can pay him tribute is by resigning. They did that, and we all applauded them. We thanked them. The governor sent them a note. He thanked them for their service for the state. But the truth is, the government can't be in vacuum. So people have to continue. And lucky, the governor has been doing his best possible to bring everybody on board. Whoever wants to be on board, that is just by his or her own decision. Not that the governor doesn't want to bring them on.
So,
left.
But what about that accusation, especially by the 6 federal lawmakers accusing Governor Ayedatiwa of sidelining loyalists of former Governor Akeredolu?
If you know their name, I will tell you where they are now. All of them are with the present governor. All of them. Adeshida, Timei, Adelebe. They all declare for the governor. You see, when politicians are playing their politics, don't always get carried away. Then they were supporting one of their own, Odimayo, and one other person. So they now pitched the camp against the governor. That was when they issued that statement. But as I speak today, all of them are with me. Politics is continuum. People will always disagree and agree. When you are looking for something, you always find a way to disagree. That was why they issued that statement then. If you ask them now, they are in the camp of Mr. Governor. That of Adetime Adelebe is one of the leaders in my own local government in Ose, who was at the forefront of the campaign, leading us that they will need to win this election.
All right.
So,
yeah,
don't get carried away.
Saying it as it is, the former governor, the late governor rather, Oluwarotimi Akeredolu Aketi, is one character known for many things. Very humorous. I've personally listened, watched some of his jokes. He's somebody vocal. He speaks about whatever he wants. I mean, he believes in it. He doesn't hold back. And there was a video, I think it was the swearing ceremony for the second time, where he spoke in a kind of a prophetic way. These are the words of some persons, where he said, "Lucky ori son," meaning you are now fortunate. And he spoke that maybe he might actually succeed in one day. That has happened based on circumstance. But I'm saying that fully well now, that there is an Aketi structure. It's from Ondo. It was from Ondo State, but beyond the Owo, as a destination or as a location, is one structure that is. He has one structure that is very big. I'd like to ask you: is that structure still existing? And that's number one. And number two, what's the relationship of the Ondo APC with the Aketi family right now, especially his widow, Madam Betty?
Yes, he's our leader, and will forever be. He was our leader. He will forever be. We will always be in our memory for a long time to come. In fact, our new state secretariat, he started it. He has completed it while he was sick. We're just waiting for him to come around so that he can open it. As I speak, we are yet to open that secretariat. And we are going to immortalize it. We are going to name that secretariat time. It's one of the biggest structure of any political party in any state. Because you need to look at the facilities, Gaunting. So we want to name that secretariat at time, just to tell you how much the party cares about him. We still love him. Anytime anyone mentions his name, people always reflect on some of his characteristics that you just mentioned. He's very humorous, very witty. He doesn't give a damn. He's so bold. He will tell you the way it is. And it's funny to know the way it is. There was a time it was to open a new road in one of the local governments. The Oba now said you want him to do another access road adjoining that road. Was keenly listening to the Oba. Then one of the political figures quickly went to him and whispered something in his ear. You know what he said? He told the Oba. He said, "Kabiyesi, mi ní tọ́ yín o, mi ní ṣe ẹ ṣe máa mú mi sílé ìta ṣe yìí o. Ọmọ yín ló wá sọ̀rọ̀ sí ilé tí pé kí n sọ fún yín pé a máa ṣe. He will not tell you lies." He said he's not going to do it.
Mr. Otaloro, I have to ask this because sometimes we quickly move on from this part of the world, especially when the arrowhead is no more available. We then jettison the family and whatever he has worked for. That's why I'm asking if actually the Ondo APC are still with the Aketi family, especially his widow.
Even as the government, we will never do that. The widow still wastes lots of power and influence and some of his children too.
All right.
We will never do that. The party will always consult with them. The woman, the Betty Akeredolu, has become so powerful that it's like a power block within the states now. Yeah. Whatever he says carry a lot of weight. So we always be with this family.
All right.
And I want to believe as long as APC remains in the saddle, whoever is the governor of the state, we always respect the wishes of this family, the wish of this family. Always, at that time. You can never neglect them. No, not Akiti, I can tell you that.
All right, we'd like to especially thank you, Director of Media and Publicity for the All Progressive Congress in Ondo State, Mr. Steve Otaloro, for your time this morning. We appreciate you for coming on board and also having this conversation with us.
Thank you very much.
Have yourself a lovely day.
And you too. Thanks.
All right, that was it. And that's where we say goodbye for the conversation on Morning Spring. And it was really a great one with Mr. Otaloro this morning. To you, our dear viewers, you can definitely watch a recap of this show on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. You can also connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Western Spring Television. We'd like to hear your comments, your thoughts, and what you think about this conversation. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei. Definitely we will come back for Morning Spring tomorrow from 7 o'clock through to 8:30. But for now, we'll step aside for Spring Trends coming right after this broadcast.
Yeah, of course, Femi Ojo remains my name. God bless Nigeria. Do good by someone today. And it appears it's going to be chilly. Enjoy the rest of it.